The transformation of the Chinese car industry is utterly mind-boggling. If you consider the fact that China had only 2% of the global car industry less than 15 years ago, and it now holds by far the largest percentage of any country worldwide, and it's growing at a staggering pace, well, you'd be pretty shocked to see the data here. The rate at which China has truly transformed its automotive industry is staggering and maybe a bit scary. In fact, it's a lot scary if you're one of China's competitors. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking, guys. It's great to have you with us and great to see so many of you getting electric cars, getting solar systems, saving huge amounts of money. I actually had someone today come and have a look at the Xpeng G6 here in my driveway, and I just love the feeling of being able to drive an EV and know it's free. I'm getting all my energy for free from solar. So I highly recommend you do the same. Last year, global vehicle production actually reached a staggering 93.5 million units, representing a 2% increase compared to pre-pandemic levels in 2019 and a significant 17% rise from 2021. This graphic visualizes the share of motor vehicles produced by the top 30 countries in 2023. Visual Capitalists created this graphic to really show you what is actually happening. The media obviously are kind of missing really what's happening here, and it's very obvious to myself and others who are doing similar videos to me, showing the rapid expansion of the Chinese automotive industry at the expense of their rivals, whether those are in Germany, Japan, the United States, or South Korea. The figures come from the International Organization of Motor Vehicle Manufacturers and include both passenger and commercial vehicles. So which country produced the most cars in 2023? Well, you can clearly see that country was China with 32.2% of the market. In second place was the USA with only 11.3%. Third was Japan with around 9.6%, and in fourth was India with 6.3%. They were followed by South Korea with 4.6%, Germany with 4.4%, Mexico 4.3%, Spain 2.6%, Brazil 2.5%, and Thailand 2%. But the numbers here are pretty staggering, aren't they? Because China produced more than 30 million vehicles. Now that was 2023. You can imagine 2024. China clearly dominated global car production in 2023, accounting for almost a third of all cars produced worldwide last year. The country currently produces and exports more cars than any other country in the world as of December 2024. But only 2 years ago, they were fourth in the world, behind even places like California, but also, of course, behind the USA, Japan, and even Germany. That's no longer the case. The country currently has the capacity to produce more than twice its domestic demand for cars, freeing up a huge portion of its car production to be allocated for export. In other words, China has the capacity to build more than 60 million cars a year already. The Chinese government has massively invested in ramping up domestic automotive production and specifically its burgeoning electric vehicle sector. More than 78% of all EVs sold worldwide are made in China. And considering experts are now predicting that 90 to 95% of all cars worldwide that will be sold in 2030 will be electric, you can see where things are heading. The government's strategic initiatives, such as Made in China 2025, have prioritized electric vehicle manufacturing, leading to enormous growth in this area and incredible innovation. Following behind China is the US with 11.3% of global market share. Elon Musk's Tesla is currently the most valuable automaker in the world with a market cap of over 1.4 trillion as of the 24th of December. But Tesla shares hit a record high following Trump's victory in the 2024 presidential election. The American vehicle manufacturer dominates the industry, representing nearly half of the market capitalization among global automakers, with a valuation exceeding the combined worth of the next 29 car manufacturers. Japan ranks third at 9.6% of global car production, bolstered by legacy car makers like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan, who are doing so well they decided to team up together. Well, actually, Honda is bailing out Nissan. In 2020, China was still early in its EV transition, lagging behind many other countries and regions, with EVs only consisting of 5% of the country's car market. It lagged behind California and almost all of Europe, even the slower adopting countries like Romania. It was barely ahead of the global 4.6% average. Insane. That's only 4 years ago. It's now hit around 55% as of November, or actually October and November of this year. Incredibly, it's met its 2035 goal 11 years early. China actually had an unambitious plan of hitting 50% EV sales by 2035. 2035. The Chinese government was, it was like, well, we can do it by 2035, but it happened 11 years early. And this really shows you the incredible might of the Chinese industrial engine, the power behind it, which is now far more powerful than any other country in the world. 2020 was a turning point for the Chinese electric car industry. And guys, now, honestly, when you tour Chinese cities, I'm shocked by just how many electric cars are driving around, and not only just how many electric cars, but how many different brands. It's really quite difficult to spot the model, to see what brand that car that is, what model it is, because there's just so many. In Australia, I have no problems. I can see any car. I know exactly what that car is. I'm like, bang, 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 easy, easy, easy. And there's a lot of models of cars here in Australia. There is. But in China, that's extremely difficult to do because there's just so many models and so many choices, and so many new models as well. China responded strongly to the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, and they've done the same thing with their automotive industry. When sales recovered in China, China's eyes turned inwards, says Electric. Not only had domestic EV makers started to ramp up production rates and quality, after a decade of industrial policy which encouraged this, the rest of the world also spent years blaming China for all sorts of things. And China just got on with it. They basically began innovating at the fastest pace they had ever done so before. Now, what's scary about all of this? China's ability to go from 4% EV penetration in 4 years' time to transform an entire country to 55% EV penetration and be making the best electric cars in the world. What's truly scary about all of this is that the rest of the world doesn't seem that concerned. They don't realize what's actually happening. They don't realize the true power of exponential growth. And they don't seem to understand that China now basically owns the global automotive industry. It can manufacture all the cars the world actually needs at a much lower price than any other country. We've seen the data now. The cost for the Volkswagen Group to make their cars in Germany, it's around twice the price of what it costs Chinese EV manufacturers to make more modern, newer, more software-capable products. Twice the price. Disruption has happened. And I think it's already over. I honestly think the race has been won. China has won it. Unfortunately, though, the rest of the world just doesn't seem to realize this. Now, if we were to realize this, we could probably, try to do something about it. Try to help our automotive industry to not be completely annihilated over the next 10 years. But because people are posting videos pretending that what I'm saying isn't true, basically conning people from the truth and convincing them that actually there's nothing to worry about. Well, because of the reality that people want to hide their heads in the sand, not a whole lot's being done. And unfortunately, that means one country will own the means of production of one of the most lucrative industries on the planet. If by 2030, experts are correct, and 90 to 95% of all cars sold worldwide are electric, that would mean that likely by then, 60 to 70% of all cars worldwide are manufactured in China. And those cars that are not, most of them will have Chinese motors, Chinese battery packs, Chinese software, and everything else. So even if you think you can get around this by simply purchasing an electric car that's made in the US or Germany or wherever, there's a pretty good chance that you're not buying what you think you are. Thanks for watching.